look, first things first, he's completely happy, healthy, normal, but we need to bring you into the hospital because we're seeing something that we need to get checked out. What now? As a parent, all you want is a happy, healthy child, and that was all that we wanted when we were pregnant, expecting our son and thinking ahead to what life was going to be like with him. We were just hoping that he was going to be happy and healthy. And you get to the point in your pregnancy, you're offered a scan that will tell you about anomalies or that everything's okay. And we went for that scan at 20 weeks, as is normal in the UK, and at the 20-week point had all that scan, but they couldn't quite get the angles that they wanted, so had to go back for a second 20-week scan, also known as the anomaly scan. And that came back saying everything looks great, we've inspected the heart, we've inspected all sorts of things, he's got arms, legs, head, all the rest of it, and everything looks really good. You have nothing to worry about, looks great. However, there are sometimes some things that aren't picked up by this scan because it is very early, but this would pick out some of the major issues and we don't see anything. So it all looks great from that point of view. So that was fantastic. Continued to go through pregnancy, hoping all was okay, that he was well and progressing and developing normally and healthily and all the rest of it. And he arrived and he was beautiful and perfect in every single way. When he was born, he had lots and lots of checks in the hospital. He had blood pressures and had a little blood sample taken to check for different things, and they checked responses to stuff. Oh, I can't even remember most of the checks that they did. They did a wee thing in the ear as well, had to do that a few times because they couldn't get it working properly, and just lots and lots of checks, and each one we were hearing that he was really healthy, he was doing well, and that was fantastic. Although on day 3 we had noticed that there was a bit of an issue with my son in that he had a bit of a tremor in his hands and he ended up in the neonatal unit. But that was all resolved in terms of he got back to his normal blood salt levels and all that sort of stuff. We were discharged, sent home, and they were happy enough for us to progress at home and keep on feeding. Now, as you know, we had a few issues with breastfeeding in that I had low milk supply, and we were trying to work out the balance between my breast milk and the formula that we had to feed him. And we were in and out of hospital a couple of times. So at week 3 we went in, did a whole pile of checks, and they said he's developing fine, so on and so forth. We'll regulate this and we'll change this routine, and we were sent home to continue. Week 5 we went back in, same sort of thing, but at that point the cardiologist was called in, and he did a bit of an inspection and checked pulses and all the rest of it. And the check that they do at birth as well, actually, is that they check pulses that go down to the legs, and at birth they thought that was all fine. At week 5 that doctor thought it was all fine, although he also heard a bit of a heart murmur and says, you know what, we're going to refer him on to cardiology. It sounds like an innocent heart murmur, nothing really to worry about. Most of the time, you know, a lot of people have these and they just sort themselves out. In fact, about half the population is born with an innocent heart murmur, so don't be stressing about that, but we'll get it referred on and just check that it's all okay. So we went to cardiology a year ago today, and my son was 3.5 months old. I expected to go in, be told it was an innocent heart murmur, nothing to worry about, because I had it when I was a baby and I was completely fine. I kind of expected that would be the case, and had them all checked, and then would go home or maybe go and do the shopping, or would go for a swim in the afternoon. But no, the morning took a whole different slant. The clinical physiologist was doing an ultrasound, an echocardiogram of his heart, trying to see things, and he was wriggling about and not wanting to lie still for it. We were taken in and did an ECG and checked the electrical work around the heart and stuff, and that was all looking okay and so on. Did blood pressures, did the pulses, did a whole range of things. We were there for hours and hours and hours, and in that time there was lots of other parents who had been in and gone home again. That was the morning that I had planned, but it just didn't happen that way. Eventually though, the doctor came in, the consultant came in to see us, introduced himself and said, hi, I've just been brought in, they're having a bit of trouble, just want to confirm the images that they're seeing here. So did a bit of a scan himself, and I was trying to keep son nice and steady on the table. Stop wriggling, ooh, entertaining him. And then the doctor turned around and he said, look, first things first, he's completely happy, healthy, normal, he's growing as he should be. Don't worry about that. But we need to bring you into the hospital because we're seeing something that we need to get checked out. That set off alarm bells in my head, thinking, what now? So we were into the hospital that day and had to fast him overnight and do an MRI the next day to get clearer pictures of what was going on, get an idea of what it was all about. He said, right, firstly, don't Google this, but I think it's a double aortic arch, and the pictures that you're going to see if you Google it and the information you're going to get is going to be completely confusing and probably not relevant to his case, so don't do it. And I would recommend that to anybody. Don't Google symptoms if you don't need to. Just listen to what your doctor says. Anyway, so we were like, right, okay, well, what does that mean? He says, right, well, it means he's going to have surgery down the line. I'm not sure whether it's going to be in the next sort of week, the next few months, the next few years, or when he's an adult. I'll need to take his case and review it with my colleagues in Birmingham and London and Dublin and just review what we're going to do with this, because he hadn't seen a case like my son's before. It was a bit unique. He wasn't concerned because, again, he was happy and healthy and progressing in lots of other ways that he should have by this stage. But just wanted to be getting a good second, third, maybe fourth opinion on what to do about this scenario. So for the next few weeks, we ended up in and out of the hospital at least once in a fortnight, a couple of times, twice, maybe even 3 times. But we were in and out for checks, getting his blood pressure done, getting ultrasounds done, ECGs, the whole works, just to make sure that it wasn't getting any worse over time while they were reviewing what was going to happen. We were brought down to the hospital in Dublin and did a catheterization, which is basically a catheter sent in through a blood vessel. He got it through his groin and sent up to the heart, and it was testing the pressure between the heart and the aorta to see if there was any difference or if it was anything that we worried about, because there should have been a difference of about 20 normally, but my son's was saying about 70 to 80, so that caused a wee bit of concern too. So after that, decided that he was going to be having surgery sooner rather than later. The diagnosis he was finally given was a hypoplastic cervical aortic arch. Try saying that 5 times fast. So looking back, it wasn't picked up at 2 20-week scans, it wasn't picked up at all those post-birth checks, it wasn't picked up at week 3, it was detected as a bit of a heart murmur at week 5. In fact, he went to the doctor at week 8 as well for a general physician check, and because they knew he was referred to cardiology, they didn't really look at it too much, so not really sure if that would have been fruitful otherwise. Anyway, he ended up having the diagnosis at 3.5 months. Thankfully, he was happy and healthy, went through the surgery well, and is happy and healthy now. But that time of diagnosis and not knowing what was going on and where we're going to be, what was going to happen, was he going to be okay, it was all really quite stressful. It wasn't what you were expecting as a parent, but we were very, very blessed that it all went very, very well for us in the end. But I suppose that's the thing with parenting, it's never going to go as planned. It's always going to have some crazy thing thrown in the mix just to make sure that you're being kept on your toes. That's all I want to share for this week, folks. I would love to hear some of the curveballs that you have been thrown and the things that you have been surprised with in parenting and life. Feel free to give me a comment below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you're on YouTube, please subscribe or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you're watching this. I will see you all next week, folks. Bye.